Subject of lawfare it's all over the place now. It's so prevalent, and it's a war in and of itself. How does Israel, how do the Jewish people win this particular war?
And it is so important for our community and for the Jewish people to recognize that what's taking place now is not a good faith political debate. In fact, our opponents are trying to mask what is really anti-Jewish hatred, anti-Semitism, by trying to cloak it as if it were a political debate. So, for instance, on the university campuses today, when you had the encampments, nobody was asking the students who they were blocking and preventing them from accessing the libraries or the dining halls. Nobody was asking them what their opinion was of Netanyahu or a two-state solution. They were noticing, they were wearing a Star of David, or they were speaking Hebrew, or they were wearing a kippah. In other words, they were Jewish, or they define their Jewish identity as part of a people that have an ancestral connection to the land of Israel, and that meant that they were now going to be treated as persona non grata. The anti-discrimination laws protect Jews from harassment and discrimination that targets us on the basis of our Jewish identity. And therefore, it's essential that we start talking about what's happening as targeting us, demanding that we shed or deny our ancestral connection to the land of Israel, or somehow deny that we're part of a people. That's when you talk about lawfare, that's the key today to using the law. Right? If we understand, if we treat today's battle as an issue of political debate or speech, we can't use our legal tools, because in the United States, even hate speech is protected speech. But if it's understood to be what it really is, which is the shunning, the vilification, the marginalizing, the exclusion, and ultimately the harassments, the assaults of Jews on the basis of their Jewishness, then we can use our anti-discrimination laws, which are very strong and very powerful. And so we need to be able to frame what's happening in a way that the world sees it for what it really is. So when I started working at the Brandeis Center 7 years ago, nobody talked about the idea of Zionism as an integral component of Jewish identity. And yet what was happening on campus was the demonizing of Jews on the basis of their quote-unquote Zionism. But Zionism was being mischaracterized. Zionism, for most Jews, we're not talking about a political ideology. What is being used when people call a person a Zionist, it's the individual who's saying, I don't define my Jewish identity by religious practice, but I do feel part of the Jewish people. What does it mean for me to be part of the Jewish people? It means that I have that shared ancestral heritage, right? We were all descended from those who were once slaves in Egypt. That's why we mark the Passover Seder. So our history is inextricably rooted in the land of Israel. And today there are those who are seeking to erase and deny that. They're trying to say, oh no, the Jews are only a faith. You're not an ethnicity. You don't have an ancestral heritage rooted in the land of Israel. You're not a people. In fact, on campuses today in the United States, the common narrative that's being taught and promoted as scholarship is one that says everything that happened in the land that we call Israel since creation, they say is Palestinian. They acknowledge that, yes, there were Jews, there were Christians, there were Muslims in that land, but they say those are only their religious identity. Their cultural, ethnic identity was Palestinian. And they say we know the difference between Jews and Zionists. The Jews are the ones, they say, who recognize it as just a faith. But the Zionists are the ones who are trying to erase the Palestinian history and heritage by calling it Jewish. And so if we define our own identity as part of a people whose history is rooted in the land of Israel, we're now accused of being anti-Palestinian racists, because somehow the expression of our Jewish identity is viewed as erasing Palestinian identity. That's unacceptable, right? We need to be able to fully engage today in society, on campuses and beyond, with our full identity as Jews who can celebrate our ancestral heritage that's rooted in the land of Israel. In fact, what gives us the right to self-determination in the land of Israel is the fact that we are part of a people who are indigenous to this land. And any attempt to force us to erase or deny that in order to be fully accepted in society today is discriminatory. And it needs to be recognized that way and fought and